Right. So we've got this Liverpool-Manchester United match coming up. And, you sent us some pretty interesting articles about it. So even if you haven't really been, following the Premier League closely this season, we're gonna equip you. We're gonna give you all the information you need to sound like a total expert by the time this game kicks off.
It's going to be a fascinating one for sure. You've got Liverpool, obviously, right at the top of the table. Premier League and the Champions League. Right now, they're flying. And Manchester United, well, let's just say things are a little bit different over there.
A little bit different. Yeah, a little bit different is maybe an understatement. Manchester United only 7 points above the relegation zone. It's hard to believe. 4-game losing streak they're on now. That 2-0 loss to Newcastle recently. How did they get here?
It is pretty wild to see such a historically dominant club, in such a difficult position. I think one of the key things has been maybe, a lack of goal scoring. They've looked a bit vulnerable in midfield.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can imagine, those are pretty crucial areas to have sorted in football.
Yeah, definitely.
And Liverpool being, the well-oiled machine that they are, they've really, taken advantage of those weaknesses.
Absolutely. But amidst all this doom and gloom for United, there is a glimmer of hope. Gary Neville, one of their, legendary players. He's stepped up with some advice for their manager, Ruben Amorim. And, the word desperate was actually used to describe these suggestions.
Oh, really?
So let's see.
Desperate times call for desperate measures, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe.
So what's he suggesting?
Well, one of the big things is he's urging Amorim to start both Marcus Rashford and Alejandro Garnacho against Liverpool, even with all the talk about, some attitude concerns. Why those two? Especially in a game as big as this.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I think what Neville's doing here is he's looking at tactics. He's trying to find a way to cause Liverpool some problems. And he thinks that he sees a potential weak point in Liverpool's fullbacks, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson. He thinks that the pace of Rashford and Garnacho could really cause them problems.
Okay, I'm starting to see where he's going with this. But for those of us who aren't, dissecting every tactical detail, why are the fullbacks so important in the modern game?
That's a good question. In today's football, fullbacks are expected to be so much more than just defenders. They're expected to get up and down the pitch, contribute to attacks, provide width, even deliver those crucial crosses into the box. It's a demanding role. And while, Alexander-Arnold and Robertson are absolutely fantastic going forward, they have been susceptible defensively at times.
So Neville's basically saying turn Liverpool's strength into a weakness, hit them with speed that their fullbacks can't handle.
Exactly. It's a high-risk, high-reward strategy. If Rashford and Garnacho can get in behind those fullbacks, it could create real havoc in Liverpool's defense. But, of course, it does leave United potentially exposed at the back as well.
It's like a game of chess.
Right.
Every move has consequences. And speaking of risky moves, Neville also has some interesting advice for United's midfield. He says, don't start Casemiro and Christian Eriksen together.
Whoa. That's a big call.
It is.
Those two are usually considered. The bedrock of Manchester United's midfield. What's the thinking there?
Well, his concern is that they might lack the pace to keep up with Liverpool's high-intensity pressing style.
Okay, so untack that a bit. We hear the term pressing a lot in football. But what does it actually look like on the pitch?
Yeah, explain it to me.
Essentially, it's about applying constant pressure to the opponent when they have the ball, trying to force them into mistakes, trying to, win the ball back high up the pitch. And Liverpool have become masters of this.
They have.
They win the ball back. And then they're so quick to launch into attack.
So he's worried that Casemiro and Eriksen, while they're, technically gifted, they might just get overrun in that midfield battle.
Yeah, exactly. He's suggesting that, against a team like Liverpool, who thrive on that high-energy, fast-paced approach, you need midfielders who can match their intensity. Otherwise, you risk being constantly on the back foot.
So this midfield battle, it sounds like it could be absolutely key to the entire game.
I think it will be. Whoever controls that midfield, whoever dictates the tempo, whoever wins those crucial second balls is going to have a significant advantage.
All right, so we've got Manchester United potentially gambling on pace up front. And they need to find a way to neutralize Liverpool's midfield dominance. This is getting interesting. But what about Liverpool? They're no slouches themselves, are they?
No, not at all. In fact, they are the ones sitting pretty at the top of the table. They're playing with, a swagger and a confidence. That's almost intimidating. But what's fascinating about them is that it's not just about their attacking flair. They've got this real tactical discipline as well. It's a potent combination.
Yeah. And obviously, you can't talk about Liverpool without mentioning Mo Salah. His stats this season are just ridiculous. First Liverpool player ever to score 20-plus goals for 8 consecutive seasons. I mean, how does he do it?
It's incredible, isn't it? It's a testament to
Yeah.
his consistency, his work ethic. But it's not just about the goals he scores. It's about his all-round contribution to the team. He creates chances. He draws defenders out of position. He's a real nightmare for opposition defenders.
And speaking of nightmares for Manchester United, Salah also holds the record for the most goals and assists against them in Premier League history.
Right. 12 goals and 6 assists to his name. He certainly enjoys playing against them.
Yeah, he does.
And when you consider that he's been involved in 52 goals in 2024 alone, he's operating on another level right now.
It's almost like he's playing a different sport at times. But it's not just Salah who's feeling confident in the Liverpool camp. Defender Kostas Tsimikas has recently come out and said that he's got his sights set on winning all 4 major trophies this season, which is a pretty bold statement, to say the least.
It is a bold statement, and it really speaks volumes about the ambition within this Liverpool squad. We're talking about the Premier League, Champions League, the FA Cup, and the EFL Cup. It's a monumental task to win even one of those, let alone all 4.
I mean, it's incredibly rare, isn't it? Has any team actually achieved that in recent history?
Achieving the quadruple is almost unheard of in modern football.
Yeah.
It requires an incredible level of consistency, squad depth, and let's be honest, a fair bit of luck along the way as well.
Absolutely. But Tsimikas is coming off a pretty strong season himself. He hit 100 appearances for Liverpool. He scored that winning penalty in the 2022 FA Cup final.
Right. He does seem to have a knack for rising to the occasion. That penalty in the FA Cup final was a moment of pure composure under immense pressure. And you can see why he's feeling confident about this team's chances.
Yeah, it's amazing to see that kind of belief from a player who, let's be honest, isn't always in that starting lineup. It really speaks to the depth and quality of this Liverpool squad.
It does. It's one thing to have those star players, but to have players like Tsimikas, who can, step in and deliver when called upon, that's a sign of a truly great team. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're talking about, Liverpool's dominance, their ambitions, their record-breaking players. But what about Manchester United? They've pulled off upsets before, haven't they? Especially against their arch rivals.
Oh, absolutely. This rivalry has produced some truly iconic moments. And, Manchester United have a history of defying the odds, especially when it comes to facing Liverpool. So I'm curious, could this be one of those games where they flip the script and cause a major upset?
Well, that's the beauty of football, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anything can happen on any given day. And while the odds might favor Liverpool on paper, Manchester United certainly have the potential to disrupt their rhythm and snatch a victory.
And you have to wonder if Gary Neville's advice, unconventional as it may seem, could be the key to unlocking that upset. Imagine Rashford and Garnacho, those young wingers, tearing through Liverpool's defense.
Yeah, it's a tantalizing prospect. If they can utilize that pace effectively, exploit any hesitancy from Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, it could create some real opportunities.
Yeah.
But it's a delicate balancing act, isn't it? Because pushing those wingers forward also leaves space for Liverpool's attackers to exploit on the counter.
Exactly. And that brings us back to that midfield battle we were talking about. If Manchester United can't control the tempo, if they can't disrupt Liverpool's pressing game, they could be in for a long afternoon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's almost like two contrasting styles, clashing head-on, Liverpool's high-intensity pressing, versus Manchester United's potential for quick counterattacks. It's a tactical puzzle, and the outcome could hinge on which team adapts better to the other's approach.
It's fascinating, isn't it? It's not just about the individual players. It's about how the teams function as a unit, how they react to each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's where the role of the managers becomes so crucial. How do they set up their teams? What tactical tweaks do they make during the game? These are the decisions that can, make or break a team's performance.
Yeah.
Especially in a high-stakes match like this.
Yeah, and of course, you can't forget about the psychological aspect of this rivalry. These matches are always fiercely contested, filled with passion and a desire to prove a point. I feel like the weight of history, the expectation from the fans, it all adds another layer of intensity to the game.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
These are two clubs with such a rich history of success. And the rivalry runs deep. Every tackle, every goal, every save. It's magnified when Liverpool and Manchester United face each other. The players know it. The managers know it. And the fans certainly know it.
It's what makes this fixture so special, so captivating for fans around the world. It's not just about the 90 minutes on the pitch. It's about the narratives, the
Well,
history, the emotional roller coaster that comes with being a supporter of either of these clubs.
it's about bragging rights, local pride, maintaining a legacy of success. And those intangible factors, they can sometimes push players to perform beyond their limits, to produce those moments of magic that defy logic and expectation.
I've definitely seen it happen in this rivalry before. It's like the atmosphere itself elevates the game, creating this almost electric tension that you can feel even through the television screen.
It's true. And that's what makes football such a captivating sport. It's not just about, physical ability and tactical formations. It's about the human element, the emotions, the stories that unfold on the pitch. And in a match like this, between Liverpool and Manchester United, that human element is amplified tenfold.
We're talking about individual players battling for their team's honor, managers making split-second decisions that can impact the entire season, and millions of fans around the world riding every high and low of the game.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, no matter how much we analyze, no matter how much we predict, no matter how much we dissect the tactical nuances, it's those moments of unpredictability, those flashes of brilliance, those twists of fate that truly define these encounters.
That's why we watch, isn't it? To witness those unscripted moments, to experience the collective gasp of a stadium, to feel the heartbreak of a missed opportunity, or the elation of a last-minute winner.
It's those moments that transcend the sport itself. They become ingrained in our memories. They're the stories we recount to friends and family, reliving the emotions long after the final whistle is blown.
And that sense of anticipation, that feeling that anything could happen, that's what makes this upcoming match between Liverpool and Manchester United so compelling.
It is. We're talking about two clubs with a history producing dramatic encounters, of defying expectations, of delivering moments that capture the imagination of football fans worldwide. And this match, with all its contrasting narratives and tactical intrigue, it has all the ingredients to become another chapter in that storied rivalry.
So to recap what we've discussed so far, we've got Manchester United, the underdogs in this matchup, looking to defy the odds and overturn their recent struggles. Gary Neville's advice to unleash the pace of Rashford and Garnacho adds an element of intrigue to their attack. The question is, can they find a way to disrupt Liverpool's dominance in midfield? And on the other side, you've got Liverpool, the undisputed favorites. They're firing on all cylinders right now. Mo Salah in record-breaking form. The ambition of a historic quadruple is still alive. And that relentless pressing style that just causes havoc for opponents. They seem almost unstoppable.
Yeah, they're the team to beat right now, that's for sure.
They are.
It's going to be fascinating to see how those two contrasting styles that we talked about, how they actually play out on the pitch. Can Manchester United use those quick counters to disrupt Liverpool's rhythm? Or will Liverpool's pressure just be too much for them to handle?
I think it'll come down to those individual battles we touched on earlier. Salah versus United's defense, Rashford and Garnacho up against Alexander-Arnold and Robertson, the midfield clash as well, whoever Amorim decides to start there. Against Liverpool's, dynamic trio, I think these head-to-head matchups could really sway the game.
Yeah, I agree. And that's what makes these big rivalry games so captivating. It's not just about the overall team tactics. It's about those individual moments of brilliance, those duels where players are pushing each other to their absolute limits, trying to gain that crucial edge.
Absolutely. And then there's the psychological aspect as well. You've got young players like Garnacho potentially stepping onto the biggest stage of their careers, facing a team like Liverpool at Anfield. That takes serious mental fortitude.
Yeah, for sure. And then you've got players like Salah on the other side, who, thrive in these high-pressure environments. They relish the challenge, the opportunity to showcase their skills against, such a fierce rival.
Right.
These psychological battles, these mental games within the game, they can often be just as important as the physical ones.
It's a real clash of narratives, isn't it? The young, aspiring underdogs versus the established dominant force, the team searching for a spark versus the team looking to solidify their legacy.
It is. And those narratives, they add another layer of intrigue to the match. They give us a reason to invest emotionally.
Sure.
To, root for a particular outcome, to feel those highs and lows alongside the players and the managers.
Yeah, it's what turns a football match into something more than just a game. It becomes a story, a drama, a shared experience.
Exactly.
It connects fans from all walks of life.
And I think that's something we often lose sight of. In the midst of all the tactical analysis and the statistical breakdowns, at its core, Football is about passion. It's about emotion. It's about those moments of collective joy and despair that unite us as fans.
Well said. So as we head into this match between Liverpool and Manchester United, let's remember to appreciate those intangible elements. Let's savor the drama, the tension, the unpredictable twists and turns that make this rivalry so special.
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, it's those moments, those stories, those
Yeah.
shared emotions that will stay with us long after the final whistle has blown.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So I think we've given you plenty to think about as you prepare for this massive clash.
We have. We've explored the tactical battles, the individual matchups. We've talked about the psychological factors at play. We've even dug deep into the narratives and the historical context that make this rivalry so compelling.
So go out there and impress your friends with your newfound knowledge.
And as you watch the game unfold, remember to appreciate not just the goals and the saves, but the subtle nuances, the individual stories, the moments of brilliance and despair that make football such a beautiful, unpredictable, and utterly captivating sport.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deep.